Now, the gates of Jericho were securely barred because of the Israelites. No one went out, and no one came in. The city stood defiant, its massive stone walls glistening under the sun, a fortress believed to be impenetrable. Inside, guards peered anxiously over the ramparts. Outside, the Israelite camp stretched across the plains, a sea of tents fluttering in the wind. A nation waiting on a promise. On a ridge overlooking the city, Joshua stood in prayer, his face set with determination. The golden Ark of the Covenant, the very symbol of God's presence, gleamed behind him. A divine voice, firm and clear, broke the silence of the desert. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its fighting men. March around the city once, with all the armed men for 6 days. Let 7 priests carry ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day, march 7 times, blow the trumpets, and shout for, then the wall will collapse." This was no ordinary battle plan. It was a test of faith, a strategy built not on military might, but on absolute obedience. Joshua, his own faith glowing like the ark behind him, turned to his priests and soldiers. He gathered men like the wise older priest Eli, who would carry his trumpet with reverence, and the young, battle-hardened captain Asher, whose strength was in his sword. So Joshua son of Nun called the priests and said, "Take up the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord, and have 7 priests carry trumpets in front of it. Advance! March around the city." The command was given. The stage was set. And so, a quiet, tense march began, not with the clash of steel or the roar of warriors, but with an eerie silence, broken only by the haunting echoes of 7 trumpets against the great stone walls. The armed men walked without a word, dust rising around their feet like a ghostly shroud. The 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets went forward, blowing their trumpets, and the Ark of the Lord's Covenant followed them. But Joshua commanded, "Do not shout. Do not speak until the day I tell you to shout." The people of Jericho watched from their walls, confused and terrified by this strange, silent procession. As night fell, the campfire glow illuminated tired faces in the Israelite camp. The ark rested at the center, a steady, holy beacon in the darkness, surrounded by sleeping soldiers. The day's work was done, but it was a work of patience, not of aggression. So, the Ark of the Lord was carried around the city once, and the army returned to camp and spent the night there. The first day was complete. For 6 long days, the same surreal scene repeated. At sunrise, the march began. The trumpets sounded their lonely call. The army walked in disciplined silence. And then, they returned to camp. Each day, the tension inside Jericho grew. Whispers turned to rumors, and fear began to gnaw at the city's heart. Among the frightened citizens, one name was spoken with a flicker of hope. Rahab, a woman who had made a pact with Israelite spies. Her scarlet cord hanging from her window was a silent prayer, a symbol of faith in a city doomed by its lack of it. On the 2nd day, they marched once around the city and returned to the camp. They did this for 6 days. 6 days of unwavering, silent obedience. Then came the 7th day. As dawn broke, the sun burned a fiery blood red behind the city. There was a new energy in the air, a palpable sense of climax. The people of Israel lined up, their eyes fixed on the ark at the center, the priests' trumpets raised and ready. They had marched 6 times already this morning, circling the city in that same obedient silence. Now, on the 7th lap, they came to a halt. Joshua raised his hand, his voice ringing out across the plain, charged with divine authority. "Shout! For the Lord has given you the city." It was the moment they had been waiting for. The priests blasted their horns, a deafening, triumphant sound that seemed to shake the very ground. And then the people cried out as one. A single, mighty shout, born of faith and obedience, rose from the throats of an entire nation. The sound wave hit the walls of Jericho, but this was no ordinary sound. It was the power of God unleashed. When the trumpets sounded and the men gave a loud shout, the wall collapsed. The massive stones crumbled into dust. The impenetrable fortress was breached. Tears. In an instant, Jericho's greatest defense was gone. Every warrior charged straight in through the breaches, and they took the city. In the chaos of the city's fall, as soldiers rushed through the breaches, Joshua remembered a promise. He turned to the two spies who had once hidden in Rahab's house. His voice was urgent. Joshua said to the two men, "Go into the prostitute's house and bring her out." With all who belonged to her, they raced through the crumbling streets, finding her home by the scarlet cord still hanging from the window. They led Rahab, her parents, her brothers, and all her family out from the burning city to safety. Her act of faith had saved them all. As flames rose behind them, the soldiers gathered the treasures of silver, gold, bronze, and iron, setting them aside for the Lord's treasury. The city of Jericho, a symbol of resistance to God's plan, was utterly destroyed. They burnt the whole city and everything in it. But Joshua spared Rahab and her family because she hid the men he sent. And she lives among Israel to this day. Her legacy became a testament to the fact that faith finds favor, even in the most unlikely of hearts. Joshua stood where the city once stood, a silent silhouette against the rising smoke, gazing over the ruins. He then pronounced a solemn oath, a warning for all future generations. "Cursed before the Lord is the one who rebuilds this city, Jericho. At the cost of his firstborn, he will lay its foundations. 2. At the cost of his youngest, he will set up its gates." The victory was complete. The land was being cleansed, and the promise was being fulfilled. So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame spread throughout the land. It was a story not just of a battle won, but of a God who fights for his people in ways they could never imagine. Thank you for joining us for this incredible story of faith and power. If this moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more cinematic retellings from history's most powerful book. We'll see you next time.